Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about a hip external and internal rotation and how a lack of mobility here can lead to compensations of our low back. We will then do a test in order to see if you have enough mobility in your hips, and we will also do certain exercises in order to improve your external rotation in your hip. Hip external and internal rotation is extremely important in order to not having to compensate from our low back too much, which might lead to low back pain. That is when we're walking, when we're running, or in our everyday movements. In gait, for example, so when we're walking, in the third phase of gait, when we push off, we need to have external rotation to shift our pelvis back over to the other side and to push off efficiently. If we don't have enough external rotation force here, then what usually happens is we compensate from the low back and crank our low back, and that might lead to overstrain of our low back over time. So let's test and see if you have enough external rotation in your hip, and if not, we're gonna do certain exercises in order to improve that. So for the test, what you need to do is you need to grab your stick, which can be a broomstick or a dowel or whatever you have handy. You place it right next to you with your arm in a 90-degree angle here, your elbow, and it's right in front of your toes. What you then want to do is you want to lift the opposite side's leg up to 90 degrees, and while you keep your knee aligned with your hip, you now rotate your knee or your hip actually, and see if you can reach the stick with your heel. If you can't, if you just can't go that far, or if you need to somehow cheat by shifting over to that side, or by pulling the stick over, anything that is not really only coming from the hip is cheating here. So if you're not able to do that, then the following exercises will help you to improve your external rotation. So test both sides and see which side is not able to reach the stick, and on that side you want to work on your external rotation. So for the first exercise for your external rotation, what we do is we get on the mat and you have your front foot placed in front of you so that your knee is in a 90-degree angle and your hip as well. You can grab your stick again and place it right next to your big toe here, and make sure your back knee is turned in so that your foot is pointing to the side. Now you rotate your upper body so that it's facing forward, and you now want to shift forward, scoop forward to the point where you feel that your back inner thigh is getting stretched a little bit. You feel that it's stretching your front inner thigh, and you make sure that your knee is pointing more out over your little toe instead of caving inward. That's why you have the stick here, in order to make sure your knee is not caving in. And make sure you also place your foot far enough so that you're actually able to move all the way forward while keeping your heel on the ground. So move forward as far as you can, and then come out of it again. Move forward again. Make sure you keep that knee out, and do this for 10 to 12 repetitions, 2 to 3 times, and you will see a good improvement of your hip mobility. Then working on that same leg, so if it was your right leg that was lacking the external rotation, then you place the right leg on the floor now, and you extend the upper leg out. Your elbow of that right side is also on the floor, and with your other hand, you're just stabilizing on a side. Now what you want to do is you want to lift that back leg and you want to rotate your pelvis and your upper body out and up as far as you can, while you make sure that you're not arching in your low back, but you're actually posterior tilting your pelvis, kind of rounding your low back a little bit. And then from this position, you rotate all the way up and in again. Rotate all the way up, feeling the stretch in your upper inner thigh, but also and more importantly in that lower as well. So really try to push your hip forward here and get into that maximum opening. And again, go for 10 to 12 repetitions and 2 to 3 times. We now then want to do a bridge, because usually what happens is if you don't have enough external rotation, you're also lacking posterior tilt in your pelvis and you might be too tipped forward in your pelvis. So we want to focus on that right now when we do our bridge position here. So have your hands by your side, your knees are bent, and you now want to focus on tipping the pelvis back and slowly, vertebra by vertebra, lifting the pelvis up from the floor just a little bit. You don't have to go all the way up here. That is bringing you more into extension in your back again. You want to stay in this more tip back pelvis position and really focus on tipping the pelvis back. And then just breathe deeply into your rib cage, that it's expanding in all directions. And really pushing your heels into the floor. And also your front foot, so your whole foot is pushed into the floor. Your pelvis is posteriorly tilted. And from this position now, if you want and if you feel stable, you can try to lift off your left foot here and just stay here, stay in that position. Hang in this position for a few seconds and just focus on really firing those glutes and staying in this posterior tilted position for 20 to 30 seconds. And if you want to progress here, you can slowly lower to just above the floor and then come up slightly again and down and up, and do that for 10 to 12 repetitions, or if you just hold for at least 30 seconds. These 3 exercises will help you to improve your external rotation and also improve your gait that way, so that your lower back doesn't have to compensate that much anymore, and therefore you can spare your lower back and keeping it from getting overstrained and overstressed in your everyday movements, and that might help you with your back pain.